What if happiness wasn't some distant dream, but something you could grow, little by little, every single day? Have you ever wondered if small changes could lead to a happier, more peaceful life? Or are you searching for ways to feel more fulfilled without overwhelming yourself? Let's pause and think about this. Imagine planting a tiny seed. It's barely noticeable, but with a bit of care, sunlight, and water each day, it grows into a strong, beautiful tree. Now, what if your happiness worked the same way? Just 1% better every day, eventually transforming your entire life. Here's a simple example. Think about the last time you smiled at someone or helped a stranger. It might have seemed small, but for that moment, it shifted your day in a positive direction, didn't it? That's the power of small, intentional actions. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we explore timeless truths to help you live a better life. If you enjoy learning about wisdom, self-improvement, and happiness, you're in the right place. Before we dive deeper, let me share this. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of viewers subscribe. If you find even one useful idea today, please like this video, comment below, share it with someone you care about, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It truly makes a big difference and motivates us to create more meaningful content for you. In this video, you'll discover how Buddhism can guide us to become 1% happier every day. This isn't about grand gestures or major life overhauls. Instead, it's about making small, thoughtful changes inspired by ancient wisdom. From being present in the moment to practicing kindness and patience, each day holds countless opportunities to grow. Buddhism teaches us that happiness isn't about chasing after something external. It's already within us, waiting to be uncovered. By taking one mindful step at a time, we can break free from habits that weigh us down and open the door to a more joyful, meaningful life. Stay with us as we uncover these small, powerful practices that can change your life. Starting today, the power of small steps in Buddhism. In Buddhism, we often hear about the idea of small steps. It's not about trying to change everything at once or seeking some distant, impossible goal. It's about taking tiny, mindful actions every day that gradually lead us to greater peace and happiness. You might be thinking, small steps? Can that really make a difference? Yes, it can. In fact, this is one of the core teachings of Buddhism. Understanding that small actions, when practiced regularly, have the power to create lasting change in our lives. Think of it like walking a long path. The journey may seem overwhelming, but each step brings you closer to your destination. And with every step, you're not just moving forward. You're also learning to be more present, to pay attention to the details, and to appreciate the small moments that make up your day. In the Buddhist tradition, there's a saying, little by little, one travels far. This wisdom reminds us that even the smallest actions can lead to great results over time. Whether it's the way you breathe, the way you listen, or the way you approach each day, all of these little choices add up. Let's start with something simple, breathing. In Buddhism, we're taught to be aware of our breath, to notice each inhale and exhale, and to do so with full attention. When you focus on your breathing for just a few minutes each day, you may find that it calms your mind and brings you into the present moment. It doesn't take much. Just a small practice of being aware of your breath can help center you and bring peace to your busy mind. Next, think about how you treat others. Each act of kindness, no matter how small, ripples out into the world. A simple smile, a kind word, a helping hand. These may seem like small things, but in Buddhism, they're seen as profound actions that help to reduce suffering, both in others and in ourselves. When you practice compassion, even in small moments, you begin to build a habit of kindness that shapes your entire life. One small step could be as simple as smiling at a stranger. In that moment, you're spreading positive energy and creating a small connection. That might be the highlight of someone else's day, and it might also bring a moment of peace to your own heart. That small step, repeated over time, can lead to a more open, compassionate, and happier life. But what about difficult moments? We all face challenges, and it's easy to become frustrated or upset. In those moments, the Buddhist practice of mindfulness teaches us to pause, breathe, and just be aware of our emotions without reacting to them. Instead of letting anger or frustration control us, we can choose to take a small step back and observe how we're feeling. This simple act of awareness allows us to create space between our emotions and our actions, so we can respond with clarity and peace instead of reacting impulsively. In every moment, there's an opportunity for a small change. Buddhism doesn't ask us to suddenly become perfect or to change our entire lives overnight. It simply encourages us to make small shifts, to practice being present, and to act with compassion. Over time, these small changes add up, and before you know it, they transform your way of being in the world. The practice of the middle way in Buddhism is also deeply connected to taking small steps. This teaching encourages us to avoid extremes, whether in our actions, our thoughts, or our emotions. Instead of pushing ourselves too hard or holding back entirely, we are encouraged to find a balanced approach. This balance comes from small, consistent actions that are neither too forceful nor too weak, but just right. Let's consider a simple example of this middle path. If you're working toward a goal, whether it's improving your health, learning a new skill, or becoming more peaceful, the middle way teaches us to take small, sustainable steps rather than attempting drastic changes. If you try to do everything at once, it can feel overwhelming and even lead to burnout. But by focusing on small, manageable steps, like adding a few extra minutes of exercise to your day or practicing mindfulness for just 5 minutes, you create lasting habits that lead to progress. The beauty of this practice is that it's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. Small steps don't require you to be an expert or to have everything figured out. They simply require you to show up and do what you can every single day. And over time, this consistency builds momentum, helping you to stay on the path toward a happier life. Another aspect of small steps is the idea of gradual progress. In Buddhism, growth is seen as a gradual process. Just as a plant takes time to grow, so too does our happiness. You don't become enlightened in a day, and you don't find lasting happiness by making big changes in an instant. It's through small, intentional steps that you cultivate the qualities that lead to peace and joy. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. What small steps could you take today that might lead to a more peaceful, joyful existence? Perhaps it's something as simple as being kind to yourself, taking a short walk in nature, or simply sitting in stillness for a few minutes. Whatever it is, remember that every small step counts. The beauty of Buddhism lies in its emphasis on gradual change. It invites us to take our time, to appreciate the present moment, and to understand that every action, no matter how small, has the potential to lead us closer to the happiness we seek. Remember, it's not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about showing up every day and taking one small step toward a happier, more peaceful life. The power of these small steps is something we can all access, no matter where we are in our journey. And as you continue on this path, know that each step is valuable. There are no wasted moments, no small gestures that don't matter. Each breath, each smile, each act of kindness is a small but significant step toward your happiness. So, take these small steps every day. Watch how they transform your life, little by little, day by day. In the next part, we'll explore how this approach connects with the Buddhist teaching of the middle way, where balance becomes the key to sustainable happiness. But for now, focus on the small, simple steps you can take today, and remember, it's these tiny actions that will guide you to lasting happiness. The middle way, balance and growth. In life, we often swing between extremes. One day we are full of energy, chasing after goals and desires. In the next, we feel drained, overwhelmed by the weight of everything we must do. But what if there was another way? Something in between, something that leads to peace and growth without the highs and lows. This is what the middle way teaches us. The middle way is a core principle of Buddhism, guiding us to find balance in our lives. It is the path of moderation, where neither indulgence nor complete denial governs us. It's not about avoiding the good things in life, nor is it about rejecting them completely. Instead, it's about experiencing life fully, but with wisdom and care. Imagine you are walking along a narrow path in a forest. If you walk too fast, you might trip or miss the beauty around you. If you walk too slowly, you might become lost, distracted by every small detail. The middle way is like walking that path at just the right pace, where you are aware, focused, and moving forward in harmony with your surroundings. Every day, we are faced with choices that push us toward extremes. We work hard, sometimes too hard, thinking that success will bring happiness. Or we avoid work, thinking that rest and relaxation are the only ways to feel at peace. Both extremes pull us in different directions. But the middle way teaches us that happiness lies in balance, in understanding that both work and rest are important, but neither should dominate our lives. When you embrace the middle way, you begin to see that happiness doesn't come from one extreme or another. It comes from living in the present moment, appreciating what you have, and finding joy in simple, everyday things. You learn to let go of the need for excess, whether it's excess work, excess pleasure, or excess distraction, and focus instead on what truly brings peace to your heart. This doesn't mean we should avoid pleasure or stop pursuing goals. It simply means we approach everything with mindfulness. We enjoy the good things without letting them take over our lives. We pursue our goals with determination, but without attachment to the outcome. We find peace in the process, not just in the result. Think about how you can apply this idea to your daily life. If you find yourself working too much, take a moment to step back and ask, am I giving too much of myself to this? Is there room for rest? If you're spending too much time relaxing, ask, am I avoiding what needs to be done? Am I using this time to recharge and grow? By asking these questions, you begin to bring yourself into balance, recognizing that both effort and rest are necessary for a full and happy life. The middle way also teaches us to avoid the extremes of attachment and aversion. We often attach ourselves to things, money, success, status, and when we don't get them, we feel frustrated or angry. On the other hand, we may try to avoid discomfort at all costs, running away from challenges or difficult feelings. The middle way asks us to let go of these attachments, to find peace in the present moment, regardless of what we have or don't have. It encourages us to embrace life as it is, with all its ups and downs, and find balance in the flow of experiences. Finding balance doesn't mean you have to make radical changes. Small adjustments, like taking short breaks during a busy day, can make a big difference. Or, instead of overindulging in food or drink, you might choose to eat mindfully, savoring each bite without rushing. The middle way isn't about perfection. It's about progress, about learning to walk the path of balance, one step at a time. As you begin to practice the middle way, you'll notice that your sense of inner peace grows. You become less affected by external circumstances, because you're not relying on them to define your happiness. You realize that happiness isn't found in the extremes of chasing desires or avoiding discomfort. It's found in the simple, balanced life, where you are fully present in each moment, where you move forward with purpose, but with ease. One of the greatest challenges we face in modern life is the constant pressure to be more, do more, and achieve more. We're told that happiness is something to be earned, something that comes after we reach a certain goal or milestone. But this belief often leads to frustration and dissatisfaction. No matter how much we achieve, we always feel like we need more. The middle way teaches us that happiness is not something to be earned in the future. It is something that can be experienced right now, in the balance between effort and rest, action and reflection. You don't need to be perfect to find balance. You don't need to have everything figured out. The middle way invites you to simply be present with where you are. It asks you to listen to your body and mind, to recognize when you're pushing too hard or holding back too much, and to gently adjust your approach. Remember, the middle way is not a destination. It's a path. It's a way of living that requires awareness, presence, and a willingness to adjust as you go. Each step on this path, no matter how small, leads you closer to a life of balance and happiness. And with each step, you grow, you learn, and you find that peace is always within reach. The beauty of the middle way is that it's available to all of us, in every moment. You don't need to change your life dramatically or make big sacrifices. You only need to shift your perspective, to recognize the power of moderation, and to embrace the simplicity of balance. By doing this, you'll find that happiness isn't a distant goal. It's a way of living, a way of being, that is available to you right now. The middle way encourages you to see that both work and rest are necessary, both effort and ease are essential for growth. Life is not about extremes. It is about finding peace in the balance between them. It is about learning to walk the path with mindfulness and joy, step by step, moment by moment. Mindful living, transforming your day. To live mindfully is to be fully aware of each moment, to feel each breath, and to listen with all of your being. It is not about achieving a goal or reaching a destination. It is about the path, the step you take right now, in this very moment. We often live our lives without truly living them. We rush through the hours, consumed by what comes next, rather than appreciating what is happening now. But what if, just for a moment, we stopped? What if we simply allowed ourselves to be present? Mindfulness is the act of being present, fully engaged with what we are doing. Whether you are eating, walking, or even washing dishes, mindfulness invites you to experience life as it is. It is the quiet attention to the smallest details that make each action meaningful. In Buddhism, mindfulness is one of the most important teachings. It is the foundation for understanding the self and the world around you. It teaches that every moment has value, and every action can lead to peace. When we talk about mindful living, we don't mean that you need to meditate for hours or retreat to a mountain temple. Mindfulness can be woven into the fabric of your daily life. It is about the way you approach each activity, each interaction, and each thought. This simple awareness can transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. Start with small moments. For instance, when you drink your morning tea or coffee, take a moment to really feel the warmth of the cup in your hands. Notice the aroma, the steam rising, the taste as it touches your lips. It may seem small, but this is the beginning of mindfulness, fully experiencing a moment rather than rushing through it. In doing so, you reconnect with the present, and in that present moment, you find peace. But it doesn't end there. Mindfulness extends into the way you think. It's easy to get lost in the swirl of thoughts, to be carried away by worries about the future or regrets from the past. Yet, true mindfulness invites you to notice when your mind wanders and gently guide it back to the present. You don't need to force your thoughts to be still. Just notice them and let them pass like clouds in the sky. As you practice mindfulness, you'll begin to realize that it's not about having control over everything. Rather, it's about accepting life as it is and being fully present with it, no matter what it holds. If your day is filled with challenges, mindfulness will help you approach them with calm. If your day is filled with joy, mindfulness will help you savor it even more deeply. You might wonder, how can mindfulness really make a difference in your happiness? The answer is simple. By slowing down and becoming more aware, you stop chasing after fleeting pleasures and start appreciating the richness of each moment. You begin to see the beauty in the small things. You discover that happiness is not found in some distant future, but right here in the present. And each day, as you practice, you find yourself becoming a little more content, a little more at peace. In Buddhism, mindfulness is not just about personal well-being. It's about cultivating a deep sense of connection to the world. When you are mindful, you become more attuned to the suffering of others and are moved to act with compassion. Your awareness of the world around you deepens, and you begin to see the interconnectedness of all things. You realize that your actions, no matter how small, ripple out into the world, influencing those around you. But how do we integrate mindfulness into our busy, modern lives? It's simpler than you might think. You don't have to change everything overnight. Start by carving out a few moments in your day for mindful breathing. Whether you're standing in line, waiting for a meeting, or taking a walk, take a few deep breaths and simply be present. Notice the sensations in your body, the rhythm of your breath, the stillness in the moment. Mindfulness also helps in our relationships with others. When we are truly present with someone, we listen more deeply, without distraction. We see them not just as someone to talk to, but as a person with feelings, thoughts, and experiences. In that connection, there is no judgment, no rush to respond, just a shared moment of being. This presence is the root of compassion, the Buddhist way of showing love and kindness. It is only through mindfulness that we can be fully present with others, offering them the gift of our attention. Through the practice of mindfulness, we also learn to accept our emotions without judgment. When you feel anger or sadness arise, mindfulness allows you to notice it without getting lost in it. Instead of reacting, you simply observe the emotion as it comes and goes, like waves on the ocean. This awareness creates space between you and your feelings, allowing you to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. As you continue to integrate mindfulness into your daily routine, you begin to notice subtle changes. You may find yourself more patient, more calm, and more appreciative of the small joys of life. You may also notice that the things that once irritated or upset you no longer have the same power. The noise of the world quiets, and you discover a deep sense of peace that comes from within. But mindfulness isn't just a mental exercise. It's a way of living. It's about choosing to live with intention and presence, to wake up from the autopilot mode we often slip into. It's about living a life that is more conscious, more connected, and more fulfilled. Every moment offers the chance to practice, to breathe, to listen, to be still. Each of these small steps adds up, gradually transforming your life into something more meaningful. In the Buddhist tradition, there is a saying, "When the mind is calm, the world is calm." Mindfulness helps calm the mind, allowing us to see the world as it truly is, not clouded by distractions, worries, or the need for approval. As you practice, you begin to see that happiness is not something you need to chase, but something that comes naturally when you are fully present. By committing to mindful living, even for just a few minutes each day, you take the first step toward greater happiness. You don't need to search for it in the future or in material things. Happiness is already here, in the present, waiting for you to notice it. And as you begin to live with intention, you will find that each day becomes a little brighter, a little more peaceful, and a little more joyful. So, what does your day look like when you live mindfully? It is not a perfect life, but it is a life that is fully alive, fully present, and filled with the potential for growth. It is a life where happiness grows, little by little, one moment at a time. And with each step, you move closer to the truth that happiness is not something to find, but something to live. The role of compassion in happiness. Compassion is like a quiet river that flows gently through the heart. It doesn't ask for recognition or grand gestures. Instead, it simply flows from one person to another, spreading peace and warmth. But what does compassion truly have to do with our happiness? How can being kind to others make us feel better? Let's start by understanding that compassion is not just a feeling. It's an action. It's not about feeling sorry for someone or pitying them. It's about seeing another person suffering and choosing to be there for them in whatever way we can. It could be a word of encouragement, a warm smile, or simply listening without judgment. In every small act, compassion grows within us. Now, think of a time when you felt truly moved by someone's kindness. Maybe it was a simple gesture, a friend offering to help, a stranger holding the door open, or someone just listening when you needed it most. How did you feel afterward? You probably felt lighter, more connected, and happier in that moment. This is the magic of compassion. By giving, we also receive. Compassion nourishes our soul and brings peace to our mind. In Buddhism, compassion is seen as a way to break free from suffering. The Buddha himself emphasized that suffering is part of life, but how we respond to it shapes our experience. When we act with compassion, we don't just help others. We free ourselves from the chains of our own worries and self-centeredness. Compassion shifts our focus from what we lack to what we can give. It opens up a space where true happiness can flourish. Think of the world as a vast garden. Each act of compassion is like a seed planted in that garden. Over time, as we tend to those seeds, we create a beautiful space where both we and others can thrive. Every small act of kindness, no matter how small it seems, contributes to a larger movement of goodwill and joy. But here's the secret. Compassion doesn't just help others. It transforms us too. When we show kindness, it changes the way we see the world. It softens our hearts and helps us let go of anger, fear, and resentment. These negative emotions, when left unchecked, can cloud our happiness. But when we choose compassion, we clear the fog and see things more clearly. The world becomes brighter, more peaceful, and full of possibilities. When we act with compassion, we are also practicing mindfulness. Compassion requires us to be present in the moment, to truly see the other person, and to respond with care. This is where Buddhism's practice of mindfulness comes in. It teaches us to be fully aware of our thoughts, words, and actions. When we are mindful, we are able to act with intention, not from a place of habit or reaction. We can choose to be kind, even when it's difficult. It's important to remember that compassion is not always easy. Sometimes it's hard to be kind, especially when we are feeling overwhelmed or upset. But it is in these moments that compassion becomes even more powerful. By choosing to act with kindness, even when we don't feel like it, we break free from our negative emotions and move closer to true happiness. It's like a muscle. The more we practice, the stronger it becomes. In your everyday life, there are countless opportunities to practice compassion. It doesn't have to be a big gesture. It can be as simple as offering a genuine compliment, holding space for someone who is struggling, or even just smiling at a stranger. These small acts of kindness create ripples that extend far beyond the moment. They have the power to change the course of someone's day, or even their life. What's amazing is that the more we give compassion, the more it grows within us. It's a cycle. Every time we show compassion, we strengthen our capacity to be kind and loving. And the more we practice, the easier it becomes. It's like planting a garden. At first, it may seem like nothing is happening, but over time, with care and patience, the garden blooms. In Buddhism, there's a concept called metta, which translates to loving kindness. It's a practice of sending out goodwill and compassion to all beings, not just those we know and love. It's about seeing everyone, even those who may have hurt us, as deserving of happiness and peace. When we practice metta, we begin to see the interconnectedness of all beings. We realize that everyone, regardless of their circumstances, is trying to find happiness, just like us. This realization helps dissolve the boundaries that separate us and opens our hearts to all beings. The beauty of compassion is that it is limitless. There is no end to how much we can give. Each act of kindness, no matter how small, is a step toward a better world. And each step brings us closer to the happiness we seek. So, as we go about our day, let's remember that happiness is not just about what we receive, but about what we give. When we give compassion, we create a ripple effect that touches countless lives, including our own. In fact, scientific studies have shown that acts of kindness can actually improve our mental and physical health. When we help others, our bodies release chemicals like oxytocin, which makes us feel good. It lowers stress, reduces anxiety, and even boosts our immune system. So, not only does compassion make others happy, it makes us healthier and more resilient. True compassion also means taking care of ourselves. It's about recognizing that we too deserve kindness and care. When we are compassionate with ourselves, we are better able to be compassionate with others. This balance is crucial. If we neglect our own well-being, we won't have the energy or capacity to give to others. Self-compassion and compassion for others go hand in hand. But compassion doesn't always look the same. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture or a heroic act. It can be as simple as being present, as quiet as a gentle touch, or as subtle as a kind thought. The key is that it comes from the heart. It's not about what others see, but about the intention behind the action. When we act with true compassion, we are aligned with the deepest part of ourselves. We are being the person we are meant to be. So, in every moment, let's choose compassion. Let's make it a habit, a part of who we are. Whether it's with our family, our friends, a stranger, or even ourselves, compassion has the power to transform us. It is the path to a deeper, more lasting happiness. And the best part is, the more we practice it, the more we will experience that happiness. Impermanence, embracing change for joy. Life is always changing. We see it in the seasons, in the day turning into night, and in the way people come and go. Yet, somehow, we often forget that change is the only constant. We resist it. We fight it. We want things to stay the same. But what if the secret to happiness lies in understanding and embracing change? In Buddhism, this truth is known as impermanence. It's the idea that everything is in constant flux, and nothing lasts forever. This might sound unsettling at first, but there's a profound peace that comes when we accept it. Think about a moment in your life when something difficult happened. Perhaps you lost something important, or you went through a tough time. At that moment, it felt as though the pain would never end. But eventually it did. The seasons changed, time moved on, and so did your feelings. The sadness faded, the storm passed, and life began again. This is the nature of impermanence. Pain, joy, fear, hope, they all rise and fall. Nothing stays the same. When we resist this, we add unnecessary suffering. We try to hold on to what's passing, whether it's a relationship, a job, or a feeling. But when we understand impermanence, we realize that nothing is meant to last forever. It all changes, and that's okay. Now, let's bring this idea into our daily lives. You might be facing challenges right now. Maybe you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or anxious about the future. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that things will never improve. But remember, this feeling too will pass. When we understand impermanence, we stop clinging to our emotions or circumstances. Instead of resisting change, we begin to embrace it. When we're sad, we can tell ourselves, "This is just a moment. It will change." When we're happy, we can appreciate it fully, knowing that it too is a fleeting moment to be cherished. Life is a series of moments, each one flowing into the next. And each moment offers us a choice, to accept it as it is or to fight against it. The more we accept, the more we find peace. The more we try to control everything, the more we struggle. Consider the ocean. The waves rise and fall, constantly changing in form and direction. But the ocean itself remains. It's vast, deep, and ever-present. So, too, is life. Our circumstances may change, but we can be like the ocean, grounded and stable, even amidst the waves of life. Impermanence also teaches us to appreciate the present moment. We understand that nothing lasts forever, so we learn to savor life as it is right now. This moment, the one you're experiencing, will never come again. It's unique. It's precious. When we embrace impermanence, we become more connected to the world around us. We stop taking things for granted. We learn to live fully, knowing that life is constantly flowing. We stop worrying about the future or dwelling on the past, and we begin to experience the fullness of each moment. The Buddha often spoke of letting go of attachments, letting go of expectations, letting go of the need to control everything. In doing so, we find freedom. We free ourselves from the burden of trying to keep things the same. We free ourselves from the fear of change. In our lives, change is inevitable. The people we love may leave. Our bodies will age. Our circumstances will shift. But when we understand and accept this, we can live with greater peace. We don't need to fear the end of a chapter, because we know that life will always offer us a new one. Think about a time when you've witnessed a sunset. It's beautiful, isn't it? The colors are vivid. The sky is alive with light. But if we try to hold on to that moment, it fades. The sun sets, and the night follows. And yet, the next day, the sun rises again. The beauty of the sunset doesn't vanish. It simply transforms into something new. This is the dance of impermanence. It's not something to fear, but something to embrace. When we embrace impermanence, we also begin to let go of our attachment to the idea of perfection. We stop seeking the perfect moment, the perfect relationship, or the perfect life. We realize that life, in all its messiness, is already perfect in its imperfection. The beauty of life is in its ever-changing nature. Take a moment to think about something in your life that you're holding on to, an expectation, a relationship, a past regret. Now, imagine letting it go, not in a way that's forceful or painful, but gently, like releasing a leaf into the wind. You don't need to carry it with you forever. You can allow it to flow away. This is the practice of letting go. It's freeing. Impermanence also helps us understand the nature of our relationships. People come and go from our lives, but each connection, however brief, holds value. Instead of clinging to people or trying to control relationships, we learn to appreciate them as they are. We understand that each moment we share with someone is unique, and that's what makes it meaningful. The more we embrace change, the more we grow. We stop seeing ourselves as fixed beings, but as constantly evolving. We let go of the need to be perfect and instead allow ourselves to be in process. We embrace our imperfections, knowing that they are part of our journey. When we face challenges, we remember that they too are temporary. Just as joy passes, so does pain. Change is the rhythm of life, and with each shift, we become more resilient. Every change brings with it an opportunity to grow. So, how can we apply the wisdom of impermanence to our daily lives? First, by by accepting that change is a natural part of our existence. We don't resist it. Instead, we flow with it. We embrace the ebb and flow of life, knowing that each moment is precious and unique. Second, by letting go of attachments. We don't hold on too tightly to things, people, or feelings. We appreciate them in the present moment, knowing that everything is temporary. This doesn't mean we don't care. It means we care deeply, but without clinging. And finally, by finding peace in the present. When we stop worrying about the future or regretting the past, we begin to experience life as it is, beautiful, fleeting, and full of potential. Every moment offers us the chance to begin again. Every breath we take is a new beginning. Impermanence is not something to fear, but something to celebrate. It's the key to living with joy, because when we understand that nothing stays the same, we can appreciate life more fully. We can be present in each moment, knowing that it's a gift, no matter how long it lasts. Life is change, and when we accept that, we find true freedom. We are not bound by the past, nor are we trapped by the future. We live fully in the now, embracing the flow of life with an open heart. This is the wisdom of impermanence. This is the path to happiness. Meditation, the key to inner peace. When you sit quietly, close your eyes, and listen to the stillness around you, something magical happens. It's as if the world slows down. Thoughts come and go, but you don't need to follow them. You simply observe. This is meditation, and it is the key to unlocking inner peace. Many people search for happiness in the outer world, through success, possessions, or relationships. But true happiness doesn't come from what's outside. It comes from within. Meditation is the tool that helps us look inward and connect with the peace that is always there, even when the world feels chaotic. Imagine, for a moment, a calm lake. The surface is perfectly still, reflecting the sky above. Now, imagine that lake is your mind. On most days, our minds are like a lake with waves crashing in all directions. Thoughts, worries, and distractions cause the water to stir, and it's hard to see clearly. But when we meditate, we let the water settle. Slowly, the ripples fade, and the mind becomes still, just like that calm lake. In Buddhism, meditation is not just a practice, it's a way of life. It teaches us to be present in each moment, to let go of distractions, and to cultivate a deep sense of awareness. It's not about stopping thoughts completely, but rather about observing them without attachment. When we stop chasing every thought, the mind naturally becomes quieter. Start by finding a quiet place, free from distractions. Sit comfortably, with your back straight but relaxed. Close your eyes gently and take a deep breath. As you inhale, feel the air fill your body, and as you exhale, let go of any tension. Now, simply focus on your breath. In and out, in and out. Let each breath remind you that you are alive, here, now. At first, your mind may be full of thoughts. That's okay. It's normal. Just notice them without judgment and gently return your focus to your breath. Each time you bring your mind back to the present moment, you are strengthening your ability to focus and find peace. Meditation doesn't need to be long or complicated. Even a few minutes each day can make a difference. Over time, you'll notice that you feel calmer, more centered, and more connected to the world around you. Life won't stop being busy, but you'll have a new way of navigating it without getting caught up in the noise. In Buddhism, the goal of meditation is not to escape the world, but to experience it fully, without being overwhelmed. By training our minds to stay present, we learn to see things clearly, without the distortions of stress, fear, or desire. We begin to understand that nothing lasts forever, neither the good nor the bad. This understanding brings freedom. As you meditate, remember that there is no right or wrong way. Meditation is a personal journey. It's about developing a relationship with yourself. It's about giving yourself permission to pause, to breathe, and to be. The more you practice, the deeper your connection with your inner peace will become. If you find your mind wandering, don't be hard on yourself. Simply notice it, and gently bring your attention back to your breath. This act of returning is the practice. It's the process of training your mind to let go of distractions and return to the present moment. Over time, you may begin to notice something beautiful happening. Your reactions to life start to change. In difficult situations, Instead of reacting impulsively, you find yourself pausing. You take a breath. You allow yourself space before responding. This small shift can bring a sense of peace and clarity, no matter what life throws at you. Meditation is a path of compassion, not just for others, but for yourself. It teaches you to be kind to your own thoughts and feelings. When a difficult emotion arises, instead of pushing it away, you acknowledge it. You sit with it, without judgment, and you allow it to pass. You realize that emotions, like thoughts, are temporary. They come and go, and you don't need to hold on to them. As you meditate, you'll also begin to notice the power of silence. Silence isn't just the absence of sound. It's a deep, peaceful presence. In the stillness of meditation, you connect with something timeless and profound. This silence is where wisdom resides. It is where you can hear your own truth, unclouded by the noise of the world. Buddhism teaches that everything in life is interconnected. We are all part of a larger whole. When we meditate, we tap into that interconnectedness. We see that our thoughts, words, and actions affect not only ourselves but everyone around us. Meditation helps us become more mindful of this, so we can live with greater compassion and awareness. It's easy to feel overwhelmed in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, but through meditation, you can find a moment of calm amid the storm. You can feel grounded, no matter how busy or chaotic the world may seem. This inner peace becomes a foundation that supports you through every challenge. In the beginning, meditation may feel difficult. Your mind may wander constantly, and you may feel restless. But don't give up. Just as the calm lake doesn't form overnight, neither does inner peace. It takes time, patience, and practice. Every time you sit down to meditate, you are building a stronger connection with your true self. One of the most powerful things about meditation is that it is always available to you. You don't need special tools or a particular place. You can meditate anywhere, at home, at work, or even in the middle of a busy street. As long as you can take a moment to pause, breathe, and center yourself, you are practicing meditation. Eventually, meditation becomes a natural part of your life. It doesn't feel like a task or something you should do. It becomes something you look forward to, a sacred space where you can reconnect with your peace. And as your practice deepens, you may begin to experience more moments of clarity and joy throughout your day. Meditation is a practice of letting go of tension, of stress, of the need to control everything. It teaches you to trust that everything will unfold as it should, and that you are enough just as you are. When you let go of the need to force or manipulate, you create space for peace to enter. Remember, meditation is not a quick fix. It's not about instant gratification or achieving a goal. It's about being present with yourself every day without rushing. As you practice, you begin to understand that happiness isn't something you need to chase. It's something you create, moment by moment, through your awareness and your ability to be present. As you continue this journey of meditation, let it be a reminder that happiness is not a destination. It's a process. It's not about finding the perfect solution or the perfect moment. It's about being fully alive in each moment, allowing life to unfold naturally and embracing the present with open arms. Through meditation, you will find that peace and happiness are not distant, unreachable goals. They are already inside you, waiting to be discovered. You simply need to pause, breathe, and listen. And with each breath, you grow 1% happier, 1% more at peace, 1% more connected to the beauty of the present moment. Overcoming suffering with right understanding. There is a truth we all must face. Suffering is part of life. It's something everyone encounters, whether in moments of physical pain, emotional turmoil, or the deep sense of longing for something that feels just out of reach. But what if I told you that suffering doesn't have to control you? What if you could understand it, accept it, and even transform it? Buddha once said, "Life is suffering." But let's not misunderstand that statement. He wasn't saying life is only about pain or misery. What he was teaching us was that suffering is inevitable, but it's also temporary and, most importantly, it is something we can learn from. It's not something we need to run away from or resist. Instead, we can face it with understanding, compassion, and wisdom. To start with, we must understand the true nature of suffering. Suffering, in Buddhist terms, is known as dukkha. It's not just the physical pain we feel when we stub our toe, or the heartbreak we feel when we lose someone we love. Dukkha is much deeper. It includes the dissatisfaction we feel with the way things are, the constant craving for things to be different, the frustration that arises when things don't go the way we want. Dukkha is in the moments when we feel like something is missing, or when we believe that happiness is always just out of reach. But the question is, why does suffering happen? Why do we feel this deep sense of discontent? Buddhism teaches that the root of all suffering lies in our attachments and desires. We crave things: money, success, approval, comfort. But the problem is that these things are impermanent. They come and go. When we attach ourselves too strongly to things that are fleeting, we are bound to suffer when they inevitably slip away. Let's take a simple example. Imagine you've worked so hard for a new car. You love it, you're proud of it, and for a while, it brings you joy. But what happens when that car gets old? Or when a new model comes out? Or even worse, when it breaks down? Suddenly, the joy you once felt turns to disappointment, frustration, and maybe even resentment. You feel the loss of something you were attached to, and in that moment, suffering arises. The first step in overcoming suffering is recognizing this attachment. Buddhist teachings guide us to see that attachment is the source of our pain. If we can let go of our need to hold on to things, whether objects, people, or outcomes, we can begin to free ourselves from suffering. This doesn't mean we stop enjoying life or stop caring about things. Rather, it means we stop clinging to them as though they define our happiness. We realize that life is constantly changing, and that is okay. In fact, it's more than okay. It's natural. Now, this might sound difficult, and indeed, it can be. But there's a way to understand and approach it. Buddha offers a path called the Noble Eightfold Path. This path is like a guidebook for overcoming suffering and finding peace. It teaches us the right way to think, speak, act, and live. When we follow this path, we begin to understand suffering not as an enemy, but as a teacher. Through right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, we can transform our relationship with suffering. The key to the Noble Eightfold Path is right understanding. This means seeing things as they truly are, not as we want them to be. It's about understanding the impermanence of life, the interconnectedness of all things, and the way our own minds create suffering. When we develop right understanding, we begin to see that suffering doesn't come from the world outside. It comes from the way we perceive the world. Our desires, attachments, and reactions to events are what create our suffering, not the events themselves. For example, consider a situation where something goes wrong in your day. Maybe you spill coffee on your shirt, or you get into an argument with someone. The natural reaction might be frustration, anger, or disappointment. But if you practice right understanding, you can step back and see the situation from a different perspective. You realize that the coffee stain is temporary, that the argument is a chance to learn something about communication, and that nothing in life is truly fixed or permanent. This understanding is what frees you from suffering. You don't have to be controlled by your reactions anymore. Instead of reacting with anger, frustration, or despair, you can respond with patience, acceptance, and wisdom. But right understanding is not something that happens overnight. It takes practice. It takes mindfulness. It takes a commitment to seeing life as it truly is, not as we wish it to be, not as we fear it to be, but as it is in this very moment. We must learn to embrace the uncertainty of life and the ever-changing nature of everything around us. By doing so, we can begin to embrace the changes within ourselves too. One powerful tool for developing right understanding is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, without judgment. When we are mindful, we are able to observe our thoughts, emotions, and reactions without getting caught up in them. We see them as they are, temporary, fleeting, and not who we truly are. For example, when a difficult emotion arises, instead of reacting to it with anger or fear, we can simply observe it. Ah, this is frustration. Ah, this is sadness. By observing the emotion without judgment, we can avoid identifying with it. We can recognize that it is just a passing feeling, not a permanent part of who we are. As we continue on the path of mindfulness, we begin to see the impermanence of all things. Everything, from the thoughts in our minds to the people in our lives to the world around us, is constantly changing. When we accept this truth, we can stop clinging to things, stop trying to control the uncontrollable, and stop resisting the flow of life. But mindfulness alone is not enough. It must be accompanied by right intention. Right intention is about cultivating a mindset of kindness, compassion, and non-attachment. It's about choosing to act with wisdom and care, rather than reacting out of greed, hatred, or ignorance. When we act with right intention, we begin to move through life with a sense of ease and balance, rather than constantly battling with ourselves and the world. The process of overcoming suffering is not about avoiding pain. It's about changing our relationship with pain. We will still face challenges, difficulties, and moments of discomfort. But with right understanding, we can meet these challenges with equanimity, patience, and grace. We don't have to be overwhelmed by them. We don't have to be defeated by them. Instead, we can use them as opportunities to grow, to learn, and to become more compassionate. The more we practice right understanding, the more we realize that suffering is not something to fear. It's a part of life, yes, but it's also a teacher. Through our suffering, we learn about ourselves. We learn about our attachments, our desires, our fears. And when we see these things clearly, we can begin to let them go. The wisdom of Buddhism offers us a path to peace, through understanding, mindfulness, and compassion. When we walk this path, suffering no longer controls us. We learn to live in harmony with the changing tides of life. We learn to find peace in the midst of chaos. We learn to live fully, deeply, and joyfully, no matter what comes our way. Simplicity and contentment, living with less. In the pursuit of happiness, many are caught in the endless cycle of wanting more. More possessions, more achievements, more recognition. We live in a world that tells us that we must always strive for more, that happiness lies just beyond the next accomplishment, the next material possession. But what if happiness isn't found in abundance, but in simplicity? What if living with less could bring us greater peace, deeper contentment, and more freedom? The ancient teachings of Buddhism invite us to explore the art of simplicity. It's not about deprivation or sacrifice for the sake of sacrifice. It's about choosing what truly matters and letting go of the distractions and excesses that keep us from experiencing life as it is. In the Buddhist tradition, this is often called right livelihood or right understanding. It's about aligning our lives with what is meaningful rather than what is merely convenient or expected. Imagine for a moment. You live in a home filled with things you don't need, cluttering your space and your mind. Every object requires attention, maintenance, or decision-making. Your thoughts are constantly occupied with what you have to do, what you want to buy, and what others expect from you. Does this bring peace? Does this bring happiness? Most likely, the answer is no. The more we accumulate, the more we are weighed down, the more we are burdened by the endless cycle of consumption. Now, picture your life with less, fewer things, less clutter, fewer distractions, more space, more time. When you begin to let go of things that no longer serve you, you free yourself to experience life with clarity and focus. The space you create is not just physical, it's mental and emotional as well. The constant chatter of the mind quiets, and in that stillness, you can hear the wisdom that already resides within you. Simplicity brings us back to the present moment. When we stop being consumed by the next thing or the next goal, we can truly experience life as it unfolds. The beauty of the sunset, the warmth of a cup of tea, the joy of a simple conversation. These moments become richer, more meaningful, and more fulfilling when we stop looking for happiness elsewhere. In Buddhism, this practice is called contentment. It's the ability to appreciate what we have, as it is, without the need for constant improvement or addition. The concept of contentment is not about settling for less than we deserve. It's about recognizing that what we have right now, whether it's a modest home, a simple meal, or the company of loved ones, is enough. In fact, it's more than enough. Contentment isn't found in a new car, a bigger house, or a higher salary. It's found in the deep appreciation of life as it is, in the recognition that true happiness does not come from what we own, but from how we live and how we choose to engage with the world around us. Buddhism teaches us to practice non-attachment. This doesn't mean we should live as if nothing matters. or as if we should abandon all our possessions. It means we should not cling to them as sources of happiness or identity. Our true worth is not defined by what we have, but by who we are and how we choose to live. In letting go of our attachment to things, we open ourselves to the richness of life that cannot be bought or sold. This practice frees us from the constant desire for more, and in turn, it brings us closer to a state of lasting peace and fulfillment. Living with less doesn't mean we stop enjoying the world around us. It simply means we stop letting our enjoyment be dependent on external things. We learn to appreciate the simple joys of life, the warmth of the sun on our skin, the sound of a bird singing, the stillness of the morning. These moments are already enough. When we stop looking outside for happiness, we realize that happiness was always within us, waiting to be recognized. Let's also consider the impact that living with less has on our relationships. When we stop focusing on accumulating material possessions, we free up our time and energy to focus on what truly matters, our connections with others. The more we let go of the distractions of consumerism, the more we can be present with the people we care about. We can listen more deeply, engage more fully, and experience a sense of connection that is grounded in love and understanding, rather than in what we can give or receive materially. Simplicity also teaches us to let go of the constant striving for success and achievement. In our modern world, we are often taught to measure our worth by how much we do, how much we accomplish, and how much we achieve. But this constant striving can leave us feeling exhausted, empty, and disconnected from our true selves. By embracing simplicity, we free ourselves from the pressure to constantly achieve. We can learn to appreciate our lives as they are, without the need for endless comparison or competition. In Buddhism, there is a saying, "The less you have, the more you are." This doesn't mean we should live in poverty or neglect our needs. It means that by letting go of excess, we are able to discover our true nature, unburdened by the weight of material desires. When we stop identifying ourselves by what we own or what we do, we can reconnect with who we truly are. This is where true happiness lies, not in the accumulation of things, but in the deep understanding of our own hearts and minds. The practice of simplicity also encourages us to slow down. In a world that is always moving faster, always pushing us to do more, to be more, it's easy to forget the importance of rest, reflection, and simply being. But in slowing down, we give ourselves the space to reconnect with our inner peace. We become more aware of the present moment, more attuned to the needs of our body, our mind, and our spirit. In the stillness, we find clarity, and in that clarity, we find contentment. Simplicity and contentment are not destinations we reach, but practices we embody each day. They require constant mindfulness and awareness, as we continuously choose to let go of excess and focus on what truly matters. Each day is an opportunity to simplify our lives, to find joy in the small things, and to embrace the beauty of the present moment. In the end, living with less isn't about deprivation, it's about freedom. It's about freeing ourselves from the endless cycle of consumerism, from the pressure to constantly achieve and acquire. It's about choosing to live in alignment with what is truly important: peace, love, and understanding. When we let go of the need for more, we open ourselves to the boundless richness of life itself. By embracing simplicity and contentment, we can find happiness not in what we have, but in what we are. And in that realization, we discover a joy that is deeper, more enduring, and more fulfilling than anything material possessions could ever offer. Conclusion: the ripple effect of 1% happiness. Dear listener, you have walked a long path today.